By definition, muscle hypertrophy is the increase in size of muscle tissue. Today I'm going to share the science behind muscle hypertrophy and the 3 factors needed for muscle growth. Before we even get to how to build bigger muscles, I think it's important to understand what happens during muscle hypertrophy. So the majority of our mass gain actually comes from the increase in size and number of sarcomere, which are a single unit of muscle fiber. The existing sarcomere that you already have in your muscles increase in size and diameter, as well as you get new sarcomere that get stacked in parallel to those existing sarcomere. The combination of these two things create volume and ultimately obviously creates bigger muscles. On top of that, muscle hypertrophy comes from sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, or the increase in size of organelle and fluid in between those sarcomere that help fuel the muscles throughout workouts. The primary fuel source for our muscles is glycogen. So the more muscle we have, the more glycogen that we're going to have within our muscles. The more glycogen that we have, the more water is attracted to those glycogen. And then the more water we have, the bigger our muscles are going to appear. I really want you to remember this fact because I'm about to blow your mind in a couple of minutes. All right, now that you know the general science behind muscle hypertrophy, let's understand why muscles grow in the first place. Muscles grow due to the damage caused to the tissues by strenuous use. The body then repairs the damaged tissues, making them bigger, better, stronger, so the next time you do something similar, it's going to be able to withstand that workload. Here's an example. You're trying to get that absolute dump truck ready for summer this year. So in order to do that, you implement some squats into your routine. After squatting, your glutes and the other muscles that you use are damaged due to the loads of the workout itself. You rest a couple of days to let your body repair itself. That booty grows a little bit bigger, and you repeat this process over and over again until you're turning heads at the beach. All right, now it's time for what you've been waiting for. Here are the 3 factors that are needed to stimulate muscle hypertrophy. The first factor is the obvious one: training. As you probably already know, in order to elicit muscle hypertrophy, we either are going to need to do some form of resistance training or weightlifting to make this happen. However, the biggest problem is there seems to be a lot of confusion as to what exactly that training is supposed to be. So what I'm going to do instead is try to resolve 2 major misconceptions to training for muscle hypertrophy right now. First of all, when you're training for muscle hypertrophy, you're not exactly training for strength. Naturally, as you grow bigger muscles, you will get stronger, but that shouldn't be the focus. Hey, remember that fun fact I was telling you to remember? The YouTube channel Brute Strength put out an awesome series a couple years ago where they pit different athletes in the fitness industry at their own professions against each other. If you want to check out that video series, I'll put a link in the description below. Really highly recommend it. It's an awesome series. But the specific situation that I want to point out in that series is they pit this guy, Lawrence Bellinger, against this guy, Lewis, to see who could power clean a heavier barbell. At this point, you probably guessed the point I'm trying to make, but Lewis ended up lifting more than Lawrence by more than 50 pounds. Now, how is this physiologically possible? Well, in Lewis's sport, Olympic lifting, the name of the game is power and speed. He isn't worried about how big his muscles are. What he's trying to focus on is trying to maximize the amount of neurons that are attaching to his muscle fibers to contract to maximize the amount of power that he can generate in a single rep. Lawrence, on the other hand, is doing a much higher volume of reps in his training to maximize the amount of muscle damage that's happening in his body. This higher volume of repetition doesn't just stimulate sarcomere growth, but it requires more glycogen for him to fuel his muscles, which, as we learned earlier in this video, draws more water to those muscles. It's crazy to think about that Lawrence is only about 30 pounds heavier than Lewis when he looks so much bigger. My guy literally has water balloons for biceps. So remember, when it comes to muscle hypertrophy training, we're not focused on strength. Leading off of that, the second misconception that constantly gets tossed around is how many sets and reps do we ought to do in order to maximize muscle hypertrophy. If you just go on Google right now and type in how to increase muscle mass, the amount of sets and reps are going to vary from each article to the next. If you go into your local gym and ask every gym bro what their truth is when it comes to building more muscles, they're going to say 3 sets of 10, 4 sets of 12, 5 sets of 5. And this is going to probably be a controversial take, I really don't think there is a specific true number for how many sets and reps you ought to do. Now, there is a general range that you should be sitting in, probably at 3 to 5 sets, 10 to 15 reps, but what that specific number is, there's not really a true number for everyone. I think it has to be specified and specific to you. I don't really think the sets and reps matter all too much outside of that range unless you're a top tier bodybuilder, and I don't know who's watching this that needs to hear this right now. That's not you. What is important is choosing a set and rep range that is challenging to you based on the weights that you are using, and then being consistent in that over the course of years. And I'm looking at you 5 minutes abs guy. There's no shortcuts to building muscle mass. All right, now that we finished training, now we can actually go into the stuff that actually builds muscle.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
That's right, training doesn't actually build muscles. It tears it. The real growth happens after we train, which leads me to my second factor of muscle hypertrophy, and that is nutrition. If our body was a building under construction, training is the wrecking ball, and nutrition is the new building material that we're going to be using to rebuild that building to be bigger and better. And if we want that building to be bigger and better, we're gonna need to make sure we're getting quality nutrition in, and a lot of it. I know there's a saying that you just gotta train big, eat big, get big, and there is some truth to that, but the reality is not all calories are created equally. 2,000 calories of Twinkies and cheeseburger isn't going to do the same for you as 2,000 calories of lean meats, vegetables, and fruits. On top of that, you probably want to be increasing the amount of protein that you're getting into your body on a daily basis. A good rule of thumb is to consume about 0.8 to 1 gram of protein for every pound of body weight that you have. And even if you find that 0.8 grams per pound of body weight is challenging for you to take in on a single day, just start where you're at and then slowly, consistently build that over time. We really want to make sure our protein stores are topped off because it is the fundamental building block of muscle tissue. So slightly increase those calories if you need to, get that protein in, and make sure it's all coming from good whole foods. All right, going back to this building analogy. If our body is the building, working out is the wrecking ball that takes down that old building, nutrition is the building material that we're going to be building the bigger building with. What are the actual workers and construction workers that are actually doing the work? The answer to that is rest, which is the third factor of muscle hypertrophy. Rest is probably the most overlooked and important aspect to building bigger muscles. When we rest, and especially when we sleep, is actually when muscle hypertrophy occurs. So it's important to get at least 7 hours of sleep every single night, and ideally it would be 8 to 9, but who am I kidding? I'm not even doing that myself. And on top of that, don't buy into all this mindset of you gotta grind every day, bro, in order to get those gains. If you grind every day for 7 days a week in the gym, you're just gonna turn to dust. Your body's gonna be overtrained and injured. You need to make sure that you're giving yourself the proper amount of time to recover in between each workout for each specific muscle groups to repair itself before that next workout. So if you're just starting out, go to the gym 3 times a week. Do 45 exercises at 15 reps and just see how your body feels after that. Once you can get into a good habit with that, then you can start to increase the amount of sets you do, the amount of exercise you do per workout, and then the number of days you work out for each week. Focus on the mass volume of reps that you do over the course of the week and slowly build that number over time. That's gonna allow your body to build that tolerance over time. And the truth is, the more that you work out and the longer that you're along this journey, the faster your body's gonna be able to repair and the higher tolerance it's gonna have for higher volumes, ultimately leading to more work that you're able to do to get more gains more fast. Most importantly, listen to your body. At the end of the day, if you were having a stressful season of life and you had a terrible night of sleep, just decrease the volume that you're gonna do that for that workout, or just skip that workout altogether, move it to tomorrow. All right, now you know all the basics to build bigger muscles. It's time to clank some weights and get after it. What other questions do you have about muscle hypertrophy? Leave a comment below and let's start a conversation. And if you need more guidance to your fitness journey, I would love to work with you one-on-one through our online personal training program, where we'll get to dive deeper into what your specific goals are and then build customized workouts week after week upon that. Just click the link below and I'd love to chat. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the next one, and don't forget to be kind and train mean. Take care.